Hello, this is Roland. Today I would like to read you something from The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, of which I've grown fond. Every morning I go to have coffee and I do a little reading, and then I do a little trigonometry. It's like some people do crossword puzzles, I do a little trigonometry, and then I read something from my Kindle Paperwhite. And I particularly enjoy reading a little bit of Thomas à Kempis because I have a version that's in both Latin and English. So I read the Latin and then I read the English. And I just love it. The more a man hath unity. Of course, this is older English, so it means a man or woman. The more a man or woman hath unity. And it uses hath, the old-fashioned English way of saying has, which I don't mind. The more a man hath unity and simplicity in himself, the more things and the deeper things he understands, and that without labor, because he receiveth the light of understanding from above. So, that's very beautiful. Let me continue. The spirit which is pure, sincere, and steadfast is not distracted, though it hath many works to do, because it doth all things to the honor of God, and striveth to be free from all thoughts of self-seeking. Who is so full of hindrance and annoyance to thee as thine own undisciplined heart? A man who is good and devout arranges beforehand within his own heart the works which he hath to do abroad, and so is not drawn away by the desires of his evil will, but subjects everything to the judgment of right reason. Who has a harder battle to fight than he who striveth for self-mastery? And this should be our endeavor, even to master self, and thus daily to grow stronger than self, and to go on unto perfection. Well, it's very beautiful. You could write a chapter or make a whole hour lecture on each one of these sentences or ideas. But let me just comment, and that is, this last one is so beautiful. And this should be our endeavor. In other words, self-mastery, even to master self, and thus daily to grow stronger than self, and to go on unto perfection. This is a very interesting passage. You see, this is an idea that was understood. Now, they may have gone to extremes in trying to deal with it, and they tried to deal with it from a human point of view, which doesn't work. They try but nevertheless, the Christians from long ago, even what's called the Dark Ages, they understood that that the flesh wars with the spirit. And they also understood that these bodies that we drag around with us, okay, which are good because with these bodies we can see things and hear things, and we can go around, we can navigate from point A to point B, walk around, so they're very, very nice. They're masterpieces of physical, of creation. But nevertheless, these bodies that we have, we descended to. In other words, before Adam and Eve messed up, yes, they had bodies. There were a soul in a body like we are now. But their flesh was different back then. You see, what the Bible calls the lusts of the flesh, and hungers, and thirsts, and angers, okay? These are, in a sense, they're acquired, okay? We shouldn't know anger. See, in the pristine state, we wouldn't know anger. We wouldn't know lust. We wouldn't know inordinate cravings of wanting things, inordinate thirsts and hungers, and inordinate desires. We wouldn't know them. And now we have them, and some of us wonder about them. In fact, all of us do when we're young. We wonder about these bodies that we have, and these impulses that we have, and these desires that seem to rule us, and these emotions that seem to rule us, or over which we have precious little control. We wonder about them. But then, see, if we just stayed with wondering about them, with a bit of modesty, to eat with moderation and drink, water and tea and so forth with moderation, and to express ourselves sexually within the bounds of holy matrimony, and to temper our anger with reason, and best not even to be angry. See, if we lived very modestly, and then if we just stayed with that, and didn't try to decide, well, these lusts and so forth are good or they're bad. In other words, not judging them, but just wondering about them and seeking to understand them. And then one day we would have understanding, and we would see that it's the result of a fall. Okay, and we would also see that there had to be a beginning of these things, and it had some kind of a metaphysical aspect to it. For example, do you notice that when you become angry, that you become more lustful, or more hungry, or more thirsty? The angrier you get, the more resentful you get. See, the more excited you get, the more you become caught up with something. Then you notice these strange desires arising. You become more of an animal. Okay? And there are other things that will also bring that about. Excessive study, see, will also do it. Pride, in other words, excessive prideful study. But what he's saying here is that we strive for the mastery, that we recognize that these fallen bodies are basically the symbol of our fall. They're the symbol of our fall. All these lusts, angers, and so forth. So they're definitely nothing to be prideful about. But on the other hand, if you judge them as being bad, which people in the past have done that too, haven't they? They've judged their these impulses as being bad, and then they try to put a straitjacket on themselves or punish themselves somehow. But that doesn't work. All it does is strengthen them. See, you can't. It's beyond nature. What you need is God's grace and the Spirit of God to soften, to mitigate, to restrain. See? Now you know yourself. You may have had moments when you were angry about something, maybe at your child. Let's say you were angry at your child because, I'll make up a story, okay, but it'll be illustrative. Mom is home and her daughter comes home from school. And her daughter goes to her room and she sees her daughter just sitting there playing with something or staring out the window or something rather, and not doing her homework. Not only that, but her room is a mess. And Mom is starting to become angry, see? And she's ready to rush in there and say, how many times have I told you? And if you don't do your homework, and so on. And she goes in, so she walks into the room, but then she sees a little tear in her daughter's eye. And all of a sudden, all of her plans of the big speech she was going to make go out the window. She says, what's wrong? And her daughter says, on the way home today, there were some bullies, and they pushed me down and they stole They stole my backpack. Now all of a sudden, you see what I mean? It makes all the difference in the world. But that understanding softened everything. See what I mean? So, understanding. And where does it come from? Well, it comes from our center. It comes from within. It's when you stand back from the flesh, when you stand back from your angers and your resentments, and stand back from your selfishness, and stand back from your lusts, okay, and observe them, then you have a little bit of control, don't you? You do. You don't have to become angry and lose yourself in the anger. You don't have to indulge yourself to the hilt and eat a whole bag of potato chips or a whole box of chocolates. You don't have to have 10 drinks or 10 glasses of wine or something. You see what I mean? Your understanding restrains you. It's a beautiful thing. Now this understanding grows and grows and grows and grows so that you become somewhat distant. See, have you ever had a situation where there was some kind of danger? You sensed danger. And you became a little distant. Okay? And you kind of withdrew within yourself. And the danger passed and you were safe. Okay? Or another situation would be like Emily Dickinson. She had a poem. I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like I can't remember the words. I'm so sorry, but a key idea I can do remember. She said, like after a tragedy, a formal feeling comes. And then she talked about walking around kind of wooden and so on. Well, it's a great line. I think she may have slightly misinterpreted that formal feeling, however. It's something akin to, I had a boss one time, a very nice man. And the more difficult the situation, the calmer he became. More difficult, calmer and calmer. And maybe you've experienced that, or you've known someone that maybe something happened in the family. Someone died, or someone was in the hospital, let's say that, or someone died. Things had to be taken care of. They had to be arranged. And everybody was going around all upset and everything, but one person somehow remained centered and steadfast and was able to take care of things. See? So after that, a formal feeling came. So that person probably felt a little distant. See? It's not caring. Just a little distant. Was able to handle things with reason and calmness. You see? So in the same way that my boss became calmer when there was a big situation at work that required that was a difficult situation, he became calmer. And in the same way that when a family tragedy happens, there's one person who becomes strong. In that same way, God grants the human being that same sort of calmness and distance and self-mastery. See, so it's not really you're not mastering yourself. He is mastering. He is restraining. He grants that for your passions, for your emotions, for your angers, for your lusts, for your greeds. He restrains them. See? And so then you'll still be a regular person. You will still go around and do everything and so on. You'll still be a mom and a dad and raise kids and go to work and have recreation and everything. But now you'll begin to notice that the bumps in the road are smoothed out. And you will find yourself calmer. And you'll be surprised that you're calmer. And then you'll realize that it's not you that's making yourself calmer. He is. It's a natural calm. It's nothing you have to gift yourself. And you'll find that you become more temperate in all your ways. Okay? You'll become temperate. You won't have to have the second cookie or the third cookie, or you won't have to have the second drink. See, you'll become moderate in all your ways because of God's help. Okay? And so what you need to do, so what you must do is to refine that center. But you have fallen away from it. And what's happened is you fall away from it, somebody upsets you, they tease you, they anger you, something happens, there's heavy traffic, there's a problem, and you become upset. On the outside or on the inside, maybe you hide it at work, but inside you're upset. But then you try to struggle with your own upset. You resent your own upset, you resent your own weakness, or you resent the situation, or you resent the other person. Or, you see what I mean? And that just adds another layer of emotion. Resentment is another emotion, not a good one. And struggling with all of these things doesn't help. So you have to learn with the help of simple meditation like mine, to begin the day with meditation. Begin the day by standing back. Okay? Taking a couple of minutes to get centered. And then you go out in life connected with this inner resource, this inner fount. See, it says in the Bible quite properly that all good comes from God. So if there is calmness, if there is patience, if there is love, if there is kindness, if there is understanding, if there is long-suffering, if there is wisdom, they come from God. Through you, but from God. Through you, when you begin the day, wanting to have God in your life. Okay? Wanting not to be the angry person anymore, or the resentful person. Seeing that you can't save yourself, you can't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Just realizing that, and then going out in the day, and with the help of this meditation, you begin to notice a change for the better. Not a change that you give yourself, but a change that happens by the grace of God.